Hello and welcome. This is the Marketplace. It's a Monday and time to start business. Here, we analyze the market. We talk about trends and investment and how global development impacts development here in Ghana and your businesses across the continent. On the program today, we are looking at the ratings agency Moodys threatening to downgrade Ghana's creditworthiness if measures are not taken to control the country's rising debt. All these and more we're having here. And also, clearing agents are expressing worry about new terminal handling charges introduced by various shipping lines and agents at the country's ports. All these and more, we're going to have detail here on the Marketplace. My name is John Kojo Amwa. You can stay interactive with us. Our Twitter handle is Joy Business, and on Facebook we are at Joy Business. For more business stories, you can also log on to myjoyonline.com/business. Marketplace returns shortly after this break. Yeah, welcome back. And this is the Marketplace. In our first story, ratings agency Moodys says it could be forced to downgrade Ghana's creditworthiness if drastic measures are not taken to control the country's rising debt. The agency gave this warning in its latest report on the country's credit rating. George Rafi has more in this report.
Moodys in the report cites the upcoming elections as one of the major drivers that could lead to government's expenditure hitting the roof. The agency was also worried that if the current decline with commodity prices should continue, that could bring some serious pressure on government's revenue, which could badly affect its finances. Moodys was, however, quick to add that if drastic measures are taken to control the country's rising public debts and an improved foreign exchange reserves, then an upgrade to a favorable position is possible. Ghana currently has ratings of B3 with a negative outlook, which is more of a warning to anyone who engages in a financial transaction with government that the country could have some challenges in paying back the debts on time. So a downgrade could move Ghana into a junk status, a development that could increase the country's cost of borrowing and even businesses, whilst individuals you could be asked to pay more in taxes to make up for this challenge. However, there are some analysts that have taken the verdict of these rating agencies with a pinch of salt, especially when government has never defaulted on its debts.
The Institute of Fiscal Studies IFS is pressing government to review its borrowing plans for 2016 to limit the interest cost burden and associated risk. This is part of the Institute's recommendations after analyzing the 2016 supplementary budget. More in this Business Desk report.
The Institute of Fiscal Studies, IFS, in an official statement concluded that the prevailing weak economic conditions in the country are likely to continue till the end of the year. This it attributes to the trend of weak economic growth and high inflation, as well as debt unsustainability, among others. According to the Institute, the increased borrowing, especially given the interest payment, would only worsen the situation, and thus the need for government to reconsider its borrowing plans for the year. It also described government's revision of a 2016 GDP growth estimate from 5.4% to 4.1% as rather worrying. The IFS also raises issues with government's revision of a 2016 expenditure, emphasizing that sacrificing capital expenditure for fiscal consolidation may do more harm than good to the economy in the long term. It also questioned the feasibility of reducing compensation of public sector workers by cutting social security payments without incurring arrears. The Institute is therefore asking government to also pay much greater attention to the real sector than it has been giving in current economic policies if the bid to turn around fortunes of the economy is to be realized.
Yeah, in another development, there is a renewed call for measures to improve the country's trade deficit. This is contained in a new report by investment firm Fiscal, which is highlighted that imports continue to dominate export in Ghana's foreign trade dynamics. A shift, according to the report, is therefore important to spur economic recovery. Darrell Cole has more in this report.
The Ghana cedi has held up against the US dollar in the first half of 2016, with the local currency depreciating by 3.34% as of June 30, 2016, compared to 26.2% for the same period in 2015. According to Invescore, while this shows a strong improvement compared to last year, getting the market comfortable will require putting in place measures that will stabilize or improve the country's trade deficit, especially as economic growth is expected to recover over the medium term. The share of GDP for imports averaged 48.7% over the past 7 years, compared to 35.2% for exports. While Ghana's external trade mix is expected to remain tilted towards imports over the medium term, combination of crude oil production and supportive external factors, including foreign direct investment, according to a report, are expected to spur higher growth in exports and imports, which is fundamentally necessary in enabling a more stable exchange rate. Invescore says while imports have dominated the share of international trade for Ghana, its cumulative growth rate has however been slower than exports since 2009, and this trend is likely to remain over the medium term. It says the shift must be enhanced.
Now, major story here. Now, clearing agents are expressing worry about the new terminal handling charges introduced by various shipping lines and agents at the country's port. Then, according to them, the auction will cripple their businesses and affect the economy. Some key business associations, including the AGI and the Chamber of Mines, had earlier kicked against the proposed charges, necessitating a directive by the Transport Ministry for the suspension of any such move. But according to the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, the charges are already in place and are being implemented by shipping lines. In the studio with me now is the president of the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, Kwabena Fosu-Appiah, who throws more light on the situation. Mr. Appiah, you're welcome to the marketplace.
Thank you.
Exactly what is happening? Can you just take us through a bit, maybe in a minute or so?
Okay.
Yeah.
See, the fact is we have composite freight, which includes all sub or surcharges. But then what is happening now is that one component, which is the terminal handling charge, which we have or the trader has paid for earlier on from the point of origin, is being isolated and charged here in the country. That is our beef. We think it is not proper.
You think it's not proper? But then the point is this, that what makes it improper, if you ask me?
Because it's been charged already. And two,
is it my question is it legitimate? Is something that they should charge, or is something which is not sanctioned by law for them to charge this? Why do you have anything against
is to
this?
charge it again here will be double charge.
Are they charging it elsewhere?
Yeah, it is part of the freight.
So take us through the process. That's exactly what I mean. Take us through the process. Where are they charging this, and why are they charging here at this time?
You see, the freight is a composite one. It is made up of other charges. The basic freight is there, the bunker charge, and some surcharges, fuel surcharge, and all of that, including the terminal handling charge. These shipping lines do not have terminals here in Ghana, at least most of them. So it is a service that is embedded in the freight. And when you come to Ghana, the Gapoha and other private terminal handlers, they do this work for the shipping lines to pay for, and that you have paid for, the trader has paid for already from the point of origin. So to isolate it here for to be charged again is double charging. Yes.
But prior to their charging or beginning this particular charges, did they give you any notification as to why they are charging this, and at what time frame are we looking at?
A notification indeed was given, but then the reasons for it was that freight has reduced. And that for us was totally not on, because for freight reducing and they wanting to cap maybe their profit levels.
Maybe for the sake of my viewers, when you say freight, reduction of freight, what do you mean? How do you mean by that?
Freight, we could look at freight as the cargo that is coming and then the charge for the cargo that is coming. Yeah, I mean, these two items could be looked at as freight. So whichever that has reduced for them, they think that to prop up their situation, they have to isolate this charge and recharge it here again. That's what we are against.
Okay, so what, if I understood it clearly, what you're saying is that they are charging, they're making cost of doing business here in Ghana, especially from the port, very high and expensive at that, because something that the importer, for example, had paid already is being charged again here at the port, let's say Tema, for example, and then Takrady. Is that exactly what you're saying?
That is exactly the situation.
And is that sanctioned by law, if I may ask?
It is not. What they are doing is arbitrary. It is illegal. That is why the transport minister, Fifi Kwete, even intervened on the 10th of August and asked that the whole exercise be suspended for a 2-week situation be given for us to look at the veracity of their claim. But then they totally repudiated the directives of the transport minister. So
you mean that when they started charging this particular rates, the transport minister called all of you? Were you part of it?
Yeah.
Good. They called you and they asked them to suspend the charges.
Exactly.
And a committee was set up to ensure that sanity prevails before any further thing will be taken. Can you take us to what happened at the meeting when you went there?
On the 10th of August, we had the meeting. I had one of my councillors representing. Now, the end game was that this charge had to be suspended, and letters were issued to that effect. The Ship Owners and Agents Association of Ghana were duly represented. Even some of the shipping lines were represented. On the 11th of August, they were charging it. On the 12th of August, even as we speak, some of them are still charging it. And for us, we think this is it's even gone beyond trade issues. It's about sovereignty, because most of these shipping lines happen to be foreign entities, and to handle the situation this way for us, we think is so bad.
So the minister said they should suspend it. What were the basis for the minister saying they should suspend until further notice? And for which you're saying that they flouted blatantly that. What was the basis for the minister's directive?
The basis is simple, that it is arbitrary and it is illegal. We were able to impress upon the minister for him to know that the terminal handling charge is a composite in the whole of the freight charges that the trader has paid upstream already. Yeah, so to charge it here again, they must have very compelling reasons to charge it, and that they were not forthcoming with at the presence of the minister. So he has put together this team led by the Ghana Maritime Authority. 2 weeks, I don't know why they cannot even wait for these 2 weeks to look at the veracity of their claim or otherwise.
Okay, now you have issues with this particular situation going on after the minister's directive. So what next? What are you going to do as the Freight Forwarders Association? What are you going to do going forward, basically? Yeah.
There are laws in this country, and to the extent that they can so flagrantly disrespect the orders of the minister, when we get to that point, I think we will have to test this thing in court.
So as an association, you've not even decided what exactly is it that you're going to do after this, because they flouted the minister's directive?
We are looking at the close of today, because we thought that Thursday, Friday, and probably with what was happening in Cape Coast, attention was not so much here. But now that they are back, we're seeing what is going to happen by close of day today, and then we will advise ourselves.
Thank you very much for your time here on the Marketplace. And that was Kwabena Ofosu, a free year, who it happens to be the president of the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders Association here in Ghana, actually raising some concerns as to some charges being peddled right there at the Tema port. We'll bring you updates on this particular development as and when they come. Now, moving on here on the Marketplace, Chief Executive of the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, GNPC, Alex Mood, has stated that the corporation is ready to offload crude oil to the Tema oil refinery if it can ensure financial guarantee. According to him, Ghana's petroleum laws will not allow the sale of the product without reliable financial guarantee to pay for the oil. There have been several arguments as to whether crude oil produced in Ghana should be refined by toll to minimize the cost of import. Mr. Mould says securing financial guarantees is a global procedure aimed at enhancing transparency and accountability in the petroleum industry.
Refining has been neglected in the past in terms of investments, but now there is a program to make it sustainable over the years. GNPC has been discussing with the refinery and with BOSS to see how we can have our crude oil refined in the refinery. But it requires a financial instrument to be given to GNPC as a guarantee for payment in case of any late payments if they have not received their revenue from the sale of the petroleum products that they put forward. So that is a normal process that any seller of crude oil and any buyer of crude oil do. Tamale Refinery do open letters of credit either through BOST or through Tamale Refinery itself to buy crude oil. So they will do the same for our crude oil. GNPC's crude oil, the Jubilee crude and the 10 blend, is crude oil that can be refined in the refinery. It is of the specification, the chemical specification that the refinery was built for. So there is no issue with regards to whether it can be used or not. Still working on the refinery and putting things in place. Once they're in a position to do that, we are ready to ensure that we can allocate to them some of our crude and we can have discussions with our partners to ensure that the domestic supply requirement, part of it is given to the refinery. That means that they have to buy it from our partners. And GNPC is willing to assist them in doing that purchase.
Meanwhile, the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation has described the Trinidad Enyira and Tomida 10 Fields Agreement as the best so far in this particular country. It's also the country is expected to see the pouring of this particular year's oil and gas this particular week.
We're getting a fair deal, and you should understand that Jubilee was our first field. So every single petroleum agreement that has been signed thereafter, there is an improvement in every single petroleum agreement we signed. An improvement in the initial interest, what we call the carry. We don't pay till production. And then we also have a participating interest where we actually pay for it once the development begins. As you know, we spent almost about $1 billion in pre-development, and we spent about $3 billion in development of this field. So a total cost of $4 billion we were carried for most of it, but part of it we have put a participating investment in it, which is about 5%. And that is why we have 15% in this particular, and we have 13.75 with the Jubilee field. Thereafter, there are agreements where we've signed where GNPC, the government interest is greater than 15%, 17.5% and 20%. But like I said, you should always look at what is the take on the barrel. How much of the revenue from the barrel comes to Ghana?
We're taking a short break. Marketplace returns after. You're welcome back, and now time for your investments and how they are faring here in Ghana and across the continent. Now we're starting from Johannesburg, where the FTSE JSE All-Share Index recorded some decline of 103.37 points as the year-on-year decreased marginally to about 0.20% in the negative year-on-year. Now in Nigeria, the NSE All-Share Index also grew marginally to about 150 points as the year-on-year also stands around negative 4.26% per annum. And in Egypt, the EGX index also saw some appreciation in its volumes traded as at last Friday, as it recorded 91.84 points and closed the market as the highest gainer on the continent of Africa at positive 18.35% year on year. Now let's look at the Moroccan All-Share Index right there in Morocco, which declined by 7.39 and currently the second gainer for its investors, recording positive 11.01% per annum year on year. And in Kenya, the Nairobi All-Share Index also recorded some appreciation, marginally though, by 0.30 points, and it's currently losing 1.21 in terms of year-on-year returns to their investors there on the continent of Africa. So you can also look at that particular portions as well. Now, moving on the African indices, we are looking at Tunisia, where the Tun Index also declined by 14.02 points and is currently recording 6.63 in the positive return for their investors. Now, Ghana also recorded 0.11 as the year-on-year still remains 9.52 in the negative regions year-on-year as a performance. But let's look at the Francophone neighbors, the BRVM, which also recorded some 0.09 point in the positive, but still remains around 5.55 point in the negative as a result of its returns, and then some other development happening on the sub-region. And finally, Mauritius's Semidex also declined by 4.39, but the year-on-year still remained positive 0.82% per annum. Now, let's look at Ghana and then how the numbers were put together. A total volume of about 174,716 was recorded last Friday at a value of 161,512 as against 108,128 recorded the previous Thursday. That brought market capitalization to 54,670.27 million Ghana cedis, quite an improvement there from last 2 weeks, and that brought composite index increasing marginally by 1.33 points and is currently recording 9.38% per annum. And the financial index, which also measures the total performance of all the financial equities listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange, also grew by 5.07 as it's currently recording 12.00 in the negative regions on the Ghana Stock Exchange. Now, moving on here, in Ghana, we had 3 equities moving the market last Friday as it also opened this morning. And EcoBank Ghana recorded the highest gain for the investors as it returned 5 pesos per share to its investors as it opened the market this morning at 6 Ghana cedis 75 pesos. Also, GCB also returned 2 pesos to their investors and opened the market this morning at 3 Ghana cedis 47 pesos per share. But Total Ghana recorded some decline in their share values there as it reduced value by 9 pesos per share and opened the market this morning at 3 Ghana cedis 30 pesos per share. Now, let's move to Nigeria to look at how the Nigerian market also did fare on the continent. Among the top 5 gainers on the Nigerian market included the Afri-Prudential, Guarantee Bank, Zenith Bank, FBNH, and Farmadeco, all recording 11 kobos, 10 kobos, 2, 1, and no kobo, respectively, on the Nigerian market. So those were the top 5 gainers on the Nigerian market. Now let's look at those that could not give any meaningful returns to the investors. But the only significant news that I can give you is that as equities do go down, the prices get so low such that you can actually buy now and sell very high as and when the market improves. Now, among the top 5 losers on the Nigerian market include Diamond Bank, which lost 1 kobo, Continsure lost 1, AIIC, the insurance company, also lost 2 kobos, and FCMB losing 2 kobos. ETI, that's the parent company of EcoBank Ghana here, also did lose 4 kobos respectively on the Nigerian bourse. That's exactly how it is fair. Now, let's move across the continent to look at how the international commodities of Ghanaian interest are faring on the continent. Now, looking at crude oil, currently as we speak, the market is very, very young as at this morning, because it is early morning in the United States, and where we are picking these numbers from, I'm talking specifically the New York Mercantile Exchange. The market opened with crude oil gaining 21 cents and is currently trading at $47.38 per barrel, and gold also gaining $1.50 and is currently trading around $1,337.13 per ounce. And finally, cocoa also gaining marginally at 4 cents and is trading around 3,037.06 cents per ton. So that's how the top 3 commodities of Ghanaian interest are faring at the opening of the New York Mercantile Exchange right there in New York. And that's how we bring it. As and when they drop, we release the numbers for you. Now, on the Ghana cedi and how it's performing against the major trading currencies here in Ghana. Against the US dollar, the cedi is gained some momentum or some stability as it's trading around 3 Ghana cedi 94 pesos per share. And against the British pound, it's also gained strongly and it's currently trading around 5 Ghana cedis 10 pesos for one British pound. Against the euro, the cedi lost, but for €1 you can get it 4 Ghana cedis 40 pesos. And then the Chinese yuan also did gain some momentum against the Ghana cedi, as of now it is trading at 59 pesos for 1 Chinese yuan. But for the CFA, you need 148 CFA franc to get yourself 1 Ghana cedi, and therefore the cedi is gradually losing some ground against the CFA franc. Like I did tell you earlier, they have some strong economies there that is making it possible for the value of the CFA to actually strengthen against the Ghana cedi. So that's exactly how the Ghana cedi is done against the top 5 trading currencies here in Ghana, and that'll also be it here on the marketplace. I hope we've served you very well here on the marketplace. You can stay interactive with us. Our Twitter handle is Joy Business, and on Facebook it is Joy Business. For more business stories, you can also log on to myjoyonline.com/business. My name is John Kojo, and welcome. Have a good afternoon.